To my viewers on ACTN, I want to thank you so much for tuning in every Monday night to support our show. I want to wish you also a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you so much. Okay, I just saw you playing all day and you look real good. Who are you?
Well, you know, I'm Mrs. Keita. I'm the best footballer Fortin ever seen.
Oh, really? You know any of the older players who play here?
Well, I know Warren Akibal, Leroy Dillion.
Stop. You know me? Boy, I was the best striker, the best forward that this country ever seen.
Oh, Wilfred Kane.
Boy, I'm Steve David, boy. Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to another holiday edition of Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David and I'm your host. I want to wish the viewers a Happy New Year. And today we talk, as usual, we talk football. I wanted to talk football specifically to Point Fortin Civic Center, or Point Fortin Civic is the name of the team now. I think we need to discuss this, and viewers, pull up a chair if you have any friends from Atlantic LNG, Petrotrin, Trimmer, give them a call, tell them turn the TV on. We're about to talk about them. With me today to continue this discussion, to have the discussion, is Garton Craig. He's the chairman of the Point Fortin Civic. Welcome, Gart.
Welcome, Steve.
Glad to have you in the set, buddy. Relax, and we will talk a little bit about how your team is doing, or our team is doing. And next to God is Keith Bailey, and Keith is one of our well-known footballers who passed through the Point Fortin area. Welcome to the set, Keith.
Thank you, Steve.
And Keith is also the vice chairman of Point Fortin Civic, right? Okay, guys. We've been in the professional league for what, 3 years now?
Yes, correct.
And I know the team has its struggle with sponsorship. And let's talk about where we're at now and some of the people that we've looked to try to get help from or who has helped us. Where's our football going? Because as we know, Point Fortin, when you talk Point Fortin, the first thing pops to everybody's mind is football. Football and art. I mean, sports and art, culture is our big thing. And we do have great Calypsonians and everything else, but football is our bread and butter, so to speak. So let's take it from the start, from the top. We started this team 3 years ago. Looking for a sponsor. Where are we at? And give me some insight on what's been going on.
Okay. Well, we started off in 2013, 2014. When we started off, most of our sponsorship basically was coming from the sports company of Trinidad and Tobago. In the vicinity of something like close to $1 million over a year period. Now,
the $1 million is what? The subvention?
The subvention, yes, it was like $83,000 a month, right? Which we used to pay players, transportation, meals,
I thought you didn't get that though in the first year. We went without a subvention?
Not for the full year.
Okay.
Not for the full year. but although we operated for about 2 or 3 months before we started getting the subvention. Right? Now, it wasn't only the professional team that we were managing, we also were managing the 3 youth teams, because that is a prerequisite of the Pro League,
right,
which is the development aspect of the football. We did have some sponsors who would have more or less helped with the transportation. We had people like Aaron. We also had Passad that would have more or less sponsored a player over the 2-year period. The second year, we had lift boats. We also we were getting some monthly stipends, it was like $60,000 a year from the national lotteries. We used to get $5,000 a month, which also assisted us in terms of the expenditures. So,
okay, go ahead. Yeah. Keith can help you. Keith, you can jump in anytime and help.
I think we need to redefine the foundation of this new team, where we started. We started 2 years before in the Southern Football Association. We had a vision, because after 10 years, we had no activities in Point as far as a football team was concerned. We were very successful in that South
Zone.
South Zone. We won the South Zone, and we played off in the Champion of Champions. Played off. We failed to qualify through the Champion of Champions, but our vision was to play professional football. And we did approach the Ministry of Sports and the Pro League as far as entry was concerned, and they gave us the requirements that we needed. $400,000 to register, and $200,000 to register players. We made approaches to individuals and corporate point at the point that to raise that money. But through the Ministry of Sports, and we did raise that money, and we registered our first year into the league. We had a situation wherein most of the players were excited to represent Point again, and here we were going back after so much years, because we could talk about the tradition of Point from UBUT to Shell to Point Fortin Civic Center. And the community also was excited as far as getting back into the league. It cost us over, in fact, I believe our budget at the time with the players that we had, the high-profile players, was about $120,000 per month.
That's only for salaries?
That's only for salary.
Right.
The operating costs, would have been over $200,000.
Right.
And as God, the chairman, was emphasizing, we did approach corporate Point. We approached Trintock, and they expressed to us that they weren't really interested in sponsoring a professional team. We approached Atlantic LNG.
Trintock, you said, or is that Petrotrin Trimmer?
Petrotrin.
Petrotrin Trimmer. Okay.
Petrotrin, and they expressed to us, we had meetings with them.
Okay.
And they did facilitate us, but they expressed that they weren't interested in sponsorship of a professional team.
Right.
But they would assist us in whatever form possible.
Right.
It never materialized. We approached Atlantic LNG. We had some meetings with them, and their reply to us was that they also weren't interested in the support of professional football. They did express some interest in the youth program, and we received from them a contribution of $20,000.
Well, hold up for a second, though. They asked us for a budget.
That's right.
And the budget we submit to them was like $200,000, $300,000.
Yes.
and their contribution out of that, because that was in a breakdown, if I remember right.
Yes, it was.
And there was a $20, which $20,000 section. I said $20 because it sounded like what they gave us is $20. So it's a $20,000 section, which was the lowest part of that breakdown because they wanted to break down. Yes?
Well, I think you could really amplify that the youth program comprises of 3 teams.
Right.
Whenever we travel, we pay $4,500. And if we have to travel 10 external games, if you think in terms of $20,000,
right.
it clearly indicates, you know what I mean, the situation as far as their support to the program. Let me say this again. We're thankful for the $20, but we expect, or expectation is in the future that they would definitely, you know, as far as Point is concerned, you know, do something more for football in Point. I want to go further to say this also. Right? When we think in terms of Point Fortin and we think in terms of the companies in the past, UBOT, you think in terms of Shell, and you walk around and you see the facilities and the structures, all were laid down by those companies. Not only that, when you think in terms of why our football rose to the standard it rose in Trinidad, it was because football was the #1 activity in Point. The companies saw that, and the companies employed most of the players. If you think in terms of the Brewsters, you think in terms of all the family, the Bachalos, and you think, you know, those were people who came to Point. They were employed in Point to play football. And I think, you know, I mean, it reflects poorly that as far as the due diligence, as far as the history of Point football is concerned, corporate Point, you know, I mean, I think they haven't done the research to sustain the type of the type of financing that we need, you know, to have a team that is very competitive, because we have lost all our high-profile players because we can't finance the team properly.
And we still produce these players because there's a lot of teams in the professional league, right, that have a lot of players from Point, and especially W Connection live off a Point for players.
Well, I would say the league really is a predatory league, you know. And if you have the financing wherein you can stream off the talents, and this is what W Connection, not only W Connection, but most of the top 4 teams who are heavily sponsored, when they offer that type of incentive to a player who might be playing for Point. And gone were the days when players play on emotions alone. They have a commitment to family, they have a commitment, you know, as far as their lives are concerned. And these teams who play at the higher level, championships and so forth, they are enticed by that. So we cannot, unless we can have proper sponsorship in Point Fortin, we definitely wouldn't be able to hold our players.
But God, you were a product of and you didn't work with Trimmer because you got hired by Trimmer because of football, but you did play for the Point Fortin Civic team.
Yes.
While you were working at Trimmer.
Yes, but in those days it was just you're playing football for the love of the game,
right?
You know, and Point Fortin being what you will call like the mecca of football, like how Brazil was the mecca of football for in the world, on the world stage, you know, because of the amount of talented persons that came from Point. You coming from a different area, you know, that would have been one of your vision to represent the area,
right,
because of that rich tradition that they had with football. So for me, it was an honor to play for Point. You know, when you run out there with those colors, you know, you felt that, you know, you're representing not only yourself and your family, but an area,
right.
You know, you're part of that rich tradition of football, you know. So for me, it was really a pleasure.
So looking at that now from where it was to what it is now, I mean, it's a big drop, right? So you're giving back, you and Keith giving back to the community based on what was given to you and what you gained from it. Now, I mean, it must hurt your feelings to see the businesses not supporting it as much.
Right, and I think, you know, we think that most of these corporations, you know, you should think that they have a social responsibility to develop the area, because when you look at the amount of money that they obtain from the area and what is being put back with regards to sport, you know, there is really, it's really like pittance, you know. But having said that, you know, to run a football team in Trinidad, a professional football team, if it is that the gates cannot support that venture, you need to get assistance from sponsors. And that is the only way I see us surviving, if it is that we could, because when you look at the league, to say that it is economically viable, the question with regards to that is really no. So unless we could reach a point where it is that we could be viable, we will always have to be dependent on that social responsibility in terms of sponsorship. Right now, we're in a critical situation because just recently we heard that the sport company who have been giving us the subvention every month, they will be unable to provide that. In fact, we haven't got any money from the sports company since October, you know, so, and this is Christmas, you know, this is a time when, you know, people are looking forward to certain things, and we are unable right now to pay the players. So we have to really look at how we go forward in terms of survival. We're going to be having a meeting to discuss plans with regards to how we could continue in this situation.
So Keith, let me, because you came up in excuse me, in the heydays where, like God said, players used to be employed by certain businesses or contractors or whatever. So I would think the same could happen now. We can have, I mean, the players, I mean, there's nobody out there who is really hiring a player and say, okay, give me that one player and give me that one player, and we hire them and they can support the team. I mean, that could still happen, shouldn't it?
Well, I'm not deluded to believe that things may go caught in a time warp.
Yeah.
I know we have a serious downturn in the economy, and I know that these companies may go through some tough times. But yet still, as Gart was emphasizing, they must have a vision for infrastructure. They must have a vision also as far as sports is concerned. And I want to emphasize here the amount of years that Mahaika Oval have stayed in a state that it was in. And as a young man, when I was growing up, you know, I mean, we used to call Mahaika Oval the billiards table. And you had an aspiration to aspire to play there. And you had all these high-profile players yourself, Leroy DeLeon, you had Wilfred Cave, Monty Douglas, you know. And every young man wanted to emulate somebody. You wanted to emulate somebody. So you would go there and aspire to play. But we think in terms of what the company, the input of the companies, and I want to amplify this more, the input of the companies. The company had a vision, they placed the infrastructure in place, not only the infrastructure in place, they provided by giving employment to these individuals that they could have worked and play.
But you talk about Shell.
I'm talking about Shell, yeah. I'm talking about Shell, but I'm coming using to get back to Atlantic LNG and to get back to the companies now. I believe, you know, I believe that if you're not interested in supporting a professional team 100%, and you want to give something back, if you can't give it back in the support to the development and the sustenance of the infrastructure that was there before and deteriorating, you can strive to as far as players are concerned, whether it's 5 players, whether it's 6 players. I'm not even saying permanent employment.
Right.
I am saying temporary employment. That it can, as God says, it's very expensive to have a professional team in the league. And if you can't do that, Petrotrin, and even Trinma, and even Atlantic LNG. It will go a long way in offsetting, you know, the budget that we work with, you know, and it can take us off the subvention. And by extension, we can reproduce the brand that we reproduce. Point is a place that Point support brand. And God is talking about Gates. We started revolutionary when we came back into the league. The Savannah was filled. But after, you know, Point, the expectations of Point people is that we grew up on a winning dart. And if for some reason, you know, we're not reproducing what we're supposed to produce, the crowd tend to fall away. And the only way that can happen, because we can see it in our performance this year and our deteriorating performance in the last 3 years. When we had high-profile players, we're up in the first 3. And as we lose players, at this season, we're down to the bottom. We try striving to rebuild. But the only how we can get back there is to possibly get back some more high-profile players with the help
But
of
hold that thought,
Point.
because I'm hearing the music, we need to take a break. But when we come back, we will pick up right where you left off with how it used to be done back in the day and how Trimmer and Petrotrin and Atlantic LNG can hire some players who can make that happen. Viewers, we'll be right back after the short break.
Because in our team, we have some qualified persons, and if it is that they could be employed, you know, if they were employed with a company,
right,
that could also go a long way in terms of helping us come off of the subvention.
Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited offers solutions to your immediate and future potential problem areas by providing you with a qualified team of safety consultants. Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited, building a reputation on quality and value since 1999. Located 23 Todd Street, San Fernando, Trinidad. Phone 868-657-1534 or 868-788-6955. worldwidesafety@yahoo.com.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. You're still tuned in to ACTN. This is Field of Dreams. My name is Steve David. I'm your host. With me, God Craig and Keith Bailey. We continue our discussion before the break, guys. We were talking about how it was done back in the day when Shell would hire most of the footballers. Some other businesses might hire another couple, and we developed such a rich tradition in football that went on for decades. Now we die. Now we slide in and we scrambling to make it work. So Keith, you were talking about that, and God, you can jump into and again help the viewers understand what that process was like.
Now I just want to re-emphasize something. If we go back, you know, we talk about the history of Point and the success of Trinidad football, especially in the southern area when we produce all these high-profile players. And our national team was strong. Our national team was strong because the core of most of the talent came from south. This is not saying that talent didn't come from the east or the north. A lot of talent came from the east and the north. But Point, and if you go through the eras, you think in terms of even the strike squad, and I want to emphasize this again, and you think in terms of the national skipper, people like Clayton Morris, Bran Williams, Dexter Francis. Most of those guys, they were employed by Petrotrin.
Yeah.
They had a program. Trintoc at a period of time, you know, after, I mean, even though you had the demise of Civic Center for a couple of years because of the growth of Trintoc, but Trintoc became a powerhouse in Trinidad only because I believe Mr. Braffett at the time had a vision, right? And the vision was to employ talented players, you know, give them some employment and so forth. And they were very, very, very successful. So again, you know what I mean, as I said, if the companies do the due diligence and so forth, and let me say this, I'm not saying that Atlantic LNG or Petrotrin, they're not involved in other activities, but we need to prioritize what is the main activity in Point, and it's football. We need to go back and again support, not only infrastructure, but support players, find a way of supporting players.
When you talk Point Fortin, the first thing jump to anybody's mind is those footballers, right?
Footballers, that's right.
So, of course, football, you have to, is what held that Point Fortin up for a long time, but not no more.
So the way forward is we getting together and you know, possibly they having dialogue with us, asking us, you know, how can we go forward, what their input can be, because we can offer suggestions, you know.
Well, let's give them some suggestions.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I've already indicated one of the, you know what I mean, where we can go back, you know what I mean. Sometimes you need to go back to your history,
right?
You know, and I think that one of the ways, you know what I mean, if you can't put out a fantastic amount of money, you definitely, you know, can invest in some of these players. And these players that you're investing in can do promotional for your company. They can do promotional for your company.
Right.
We can, I mean, when you think in terms of the league, we can and fly the Atlantic flag all over Mahaica Oval. And the players, you know what I mean? And not only Atlantic, but even Petrotrin. So we need to get into that kind of dialogue. I think God can emphasize some more on that.
I think what that point that you made, Keith, about the employment aspect of it, because in our team we have some qualified persons, and if it is that they could be employed, you know, if they were employed with a company,
right,
that could also go a long way in terms of helping us come off of the subvention.
Yes, right.
So providing work opportunities, that is an area that I am seeing the corporate bodies in Point Fortin could assist.
And I remember Atlantic saying, oh yeah, we hire people from Point Fortin, because when they're coming into Point, welcome to Point Fortin, home of Atlantic LNG. And they were supposed to hire or give the contractors as well, who can also help the team, either hire contractors from Point, who would hire people from Point,
yes,
that would also help.
Yeah.
I stand in the morning looking at the traffic coming into Point, and at the evening looking at the traffic going out, and everybody working at Atlantic LNG is from outside of Point Fortin. I am so upset about that. So Atlantic, you guys got to pay attention. Pay attention to, you have to hire the businesses in Point, the contractors in Point, and also the people who is qualified, because we do have a lot of qualified people. I always say, they treat us like country bookie. Yeah. I always say that, and we're not. And we educated, and we have all the resources that anybody else have.
You know, the borough, at one point in time in the first year, helped us that way in terms of creating employment for some of our players.
They did.
And that helped us a big time. We want to say thanks to Clyde Paul for that type of assistance at the time. I know that there's a new mayor, and we will have discussions with him in terms of his vision for the area. Because as long as these guys got employed, they will stay with the team, you know.
Right. And you were saying something, Keith?
Yeah, I just want to add something to what Garth is saying, and even as you're indicating. I am very conscious that to run an operation like Atlantic LNG, you need to hire professional people. And I don't want to come over, I don't want us to come over that we're saying to Atlantic LNG that you're not supposed to hire the best talent. We're saying that if somebody's talent is from Point, you hire from Point. But by extension, what we're also saying and what we're also asking is that they have a maintenance department, and the maintenance department would hire contractors to do certain types of jobs. We're asking that through the contractors, you know what I mean, if you can put something in place that, you know, the contractors hire people from Point, and especially some of the footballers, you know, maybe some development plan would come in place after to as far as their development a skill or a craft or so forth. But if we have people who are qualified, highly qualified, we asking, you know what I mean, for them to consider them. And if we have people who are not that unskilled, we asking that, you know, you talk to your contractors and let your contractors, you know, assist these people. And our responsibility as a responsible group will be to ensure that our workers, the workers that they hire, that they give them their pound of flesh as far as service is concerned.
I spoke to Atlantic Energy about exactly what you just said. I says, if you hire the point contractors to do the work, they in turn hire our players, and they can give us some assistance. And they say, oh yeah, great idea. A lot of lip service, Atlantic. A lot of lip service. You did not do that. You did not. So I am disappointed in Atlantic for, they say we don't have the skill set, which is not true. They give the big jobs to the contractors outside the point, and the little jobs, the maintenance, that, they give it to the Theo Richards, who give us some support. Remember?
Yes.
Theo Richards is a good one, and he has maintenance work only, but the Damases and other companies.
And let me emphasize this also. If they believe that footballers cannot be successful, it is not so. I want to say that the national skipper, Clayton Morris, was hired for football.
Right.
And he developed into the person that he is today. Brian Williams, Dexter Francis. We can go on and on, Larry Joseph.
Right.
Those guys were hired because of football. And they grew with the company.
Right.
Because the company ensured that they give them the prerequisite training and so forth in certain areas.
Right.
And that's all we're asking, you know, that is to give the players a chance. And in giving the players a chance, Point would rise again.
Now, the Pro League also says Point has the model that they want in a club.
That's right.
They have the field in the middle of the town. They have the ex-players supporting. They have, and they say they wish every team had that model. And yet we still struggling to get a pavilion that broke down, that we can't get. We went to Atlantic LNG and we says, put Atlantic LNG Mahaica over. It's okay, you can do that. Put your big, nothing. We went to Petrotrin. Petrotrin, it was even worse. They didn't even put a piece of iron or offer to put a piece of iron to help build back that stand.
Yeah, I think for an area like Fortin, it is really a travesty that we really don't have a proper pavilion for sport and even a proper hospital, given the history of Point. I know that with regards to the community, the Pro League wants to go back to the community because they see that as the only way forward in terms of the revival of sport. You could remember when we had the leagues like PYM and SFL and SFA, most of these community leagues, how successful it was in terms of turnout. Now, I think one of the big issues with all coming back to the community is that this question of having the grounds where it is that you could collect revenue in terms of the ground being gated, you know, a proper stand, you know. And when you look at MOVA, Caledonia United, going back to MOVA, they will be experiencing the same problem like we have here in terms of you don't have the proper facilities. You look at Sawa Jablete going back to their area, they're running into the same problem. So in terms of developing the grounds, having proper facilities where it is that you could collect revenue, that will go a long way in terms of being self-sufficient also. But when we build these facilities, we must be thinking of getting revenue every month. So you know you should be more built in a way where you have the concessionaries, you know, like the KFCs, or you sell spots where it is that right. It is not just a place where you come and sit down and watch football, but it is a place where revenue can be generated for the club. You know, that type of a facility that we should be looking at, you know.
We have the atmosphere for it, though. It's just that we don't have it built up in the stand.
And it's so long. We have all the drawings. You have the big pictures of what it's supposed to look like, and this is what is over 7 years now. Right?
6, 7 years.
Yes.
So we running without a pavilion.
Yes.
And like you said, if they can build that and attach a KFC and a McDonald's and a this and a that,
yes,
it continue to generate
revenue monthly.
Let me emphasize this again. We have a foundation for pavilion in the ground, completed.
Right.
Over 5 years. Over 5 years.
We cannot build up a stand.
And we cannot build up the stand. Yeah. We're hearing this story over and over that we're going to start next year.
Right.
And nothing is happening. So we're asking again, because if we need to be successful, to sustain ourselves as a football team, we must have the infrastructure to do that. And these companies, as we emphasizing, and by extension, let me say this, by extension, even the government, you know what I mean, should strive to step in, you know, to assist us. If the government say that, listen, we can't give you subvention again, okay, you're leaving us to die.
Right.
But if you're leaving us to die, leave us to die with hope.
Right.
You know, that the infrastructure also, you need to help to put up the pavilion that you have promised 7 years now. The past government and the existing government was just coming, you know, and they said they want to do something that we can, you know what I mean, as we can bring in people, you know what I mean, Kentucky, we can charge Kentucky a certain amount of money to be there. We can charge some sports company to have a sports store, because the infrastructure that is being built will be catered for that, so that we can sustain ourselves. And
you mentioned the government, and I'm glad you did that, because what about the sports club that we had, that people used to come and they had a place you could sell stuff. We play billiards, we play pool, we do other things. Yes. And when team come, we can entertain them in the sports club. The foundation
for that is also laying bare there also.
And it's been there for so many years doing nothing.
But Keith, you made mention of the government and their input. Now, I see also if the government could create incentives in terms of, you know, having a policy where if you spend X amount of money in sports, you know, you get a tax rebate of X, you know, and create the incentives for the corporate to get involved. That could also go a long way, but that has to be a policy decision by the government with regards to the laws, where it is that, you know, you create an environment where the corporate group see something coming back for themselves if they make the investment in sports. So if it is that the government cannot do it in terms of subvention because of the situation with their finance, you know, they could create that environment in terms of policy.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe that was there before, when you had, you know, if the businessman invested 100%, he had a break of about 125% or whatever. And I think it's a disincentive when it was removed. And I take that point, and I believe, you know, if the government again could reintroduce, you know, something like that, even Atlantic LNG and all those companies, you know what I mean, would take the opportunity. I'm not saying that Atlantic LNG, I believe, has a responsibility to point, you know. Beyond,
I think they do. I actually think they do.
So I am hoping that, you know, that the government themselves, before removing the subvention, they would put things in place also to assist the club so that the club can survive.
Right. Let's take a break. When we come back, we will talk about the responsibility that Atlantic LNG, Petrotrin Trimmer has to our community. We'll be right back after the short break.
I emphasize that we're saying that as they look for personnel, you know what I mean, the first thing in mind, they should look in Point Fortin to see if they can find people.
Right.
Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited offers solutions to your immediate and future potential problem areas by providing you with a qualified team of safety consultants. Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited. building a reputation on quality and value since 1999. Located 23 Todd Street, San Fernando, Trinidad. Phone 868-657-1534 or 868-788-6955. worldwidesafety@yahoo.com.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. Hey guys, before the break, again, we were talking about things that these companies can do to assist, man. So let's continue to educate them and help them. Help us in assistance, because we're watching a town or a village that's dying in tradition, football tradition, that supported this country in such a big way, and now all we can live on is memories. And so help Atlantic and Petro-Trinidad to pick up the ball where they drop it.
I want to jump in again here because I believe that they need to emulate a couple sponsors we have had in the last 2 years, and by extension I want to take the opportunity to thank those sponsors as God started before. We want to talk about Earth. We went to Earth and we spoke to them, told them about our vision and so forth, and immediately, without even asking, they said, listen, we are going to pay that bill for the first year, the youth program, which was over $100,000.
Right.
They did that. Mr. Aaron with the bakery in Point, he's taking care whole of last year. Transportation. We want to thank him for that also.
Right.
Passads. We went to Passad and Passad for a period of time did help us with the support for one player. And let me say this again, for one player.
But we were thankful.
We were thankful for that. And we went to
lift boats.
Lift boats, and I want to talk about lift boats.
Right.
Because lift boats work for Trinma in Point Fortin. And after talking to David Bash, he said, listen, I want to give something back.
Right.
I grew up in the area. And he helped us because we were having problem at the time with subvention.
That was his second year.
That was his second year. We were having problem with subvention. He said, where you guys at? We explained to him that we couldn't even begin the season without something. And he immediately wrote a check for $150,000 and said, listen, follow the next one by $100,000. And he has supported us substantially. We know that because of the downturn, he has some problems, and he has stayed committed to us. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about, I want to use the term, a company like Atlantic LNG,
Who gave us 20,000? Go ahead.
Yeah. That they need, and I don't know who might be articulating to them what we have, proposed. But they need, to reappraise this whole situation because they have a moral responsibility. A moral responsibility for the community, the development of the community. And we believe that since football is our passion, this group, since football is our passion, we think that they can put more input as far as it's concerned. And we suggest, number one, if we would have dialogue with them and if they'd have dialogue with us, the way forward, that we talked about employment of the players, we talked about infrastructure development and so forth. So we're asking them, to meet us, where we can have a meeting of the minds as the way forward, that we can discuss how they can help us. They, and by extension, Petro-Trin and Trinma.
Right. And, again, Atlantic LNG, Petro-Trin, Trinma is contaminated our neighborhoods. They make a lot of money from our neighborhoods. but they don't put back like they're supposed to. And they don't put back in the cleanup, they don't put back in the sport, they don't put back, they have to put back into something. And I think we are being treated not in a fair and right manner, and somebody needs to step up. They've hired a couple, I call them Uncle Toms, and who doesn't know the meaning of Uncle Tom? Look it up. A couple of Uncle Toms from the area who is not doing, who I'd never heard of, and who's not doing much, but they hire them to come and to be the face of the community, and like they're doing something, but they're not. And that's, I am disappointed. God.
But I must say that we did get some assistance from Trinma with regards to employment of some of our footballers in the area. You know, they had a Christmas program, and we were able to get some of our guys. So we are also thankful for that.
For the Christmas presents they give us?
No, the employment for some of our workers. You know, some of them got some 1 week and some.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so that helped, and we also thankful for that. But in terms of something more sustainable, you know, we go back into the guys who have qualifications. We hope that they could be employed, you know. So.
You know, Atlantic and this said, yes, if you qualify, we're going to hire you. And we provided qualification. Even the companies provided qualification. I don't even want to talk about worldwide, but other companies. And they have people who they hire, who they brought from Atlantic. You guys know who I'm talking about. You brought them from BP. You brought them from all over the country, and you bring them down to Point, and they get in all the work. And the Point contractors that we have to fight for is not getting the work. And we need the Point contractors to get some of the work. There's some of the Point contractors who haven't done nothing for us, right, Keith?
That's right.
S&D Construction.
That's right.
Who we asked them, and they keep telling us come back and come back and come back. 3 years now, and we came back, and what? Not one penny.
Lynch?
Yes, Lynch on the beach, from the beach resort, yes. Not one penny. And these guys have to put in too. We have to call them out as well. There's some others. Who are those people?
I want to say again, you know, I'm careful
on how you call them out.
When I, not to even call out anybody, but I'm dealing with Atlantic LNG. I'm careful when I'm talking about a corporate company and the professionals in which they hire to run their companies.
Right.
I don't believe that, you know, we're here to tell Atlantic LNG that you must hire incompetent people. Let me make that clear.
Of course not. Of course not. We know that.
I want to emphasize that we're saying that as they look for personnel, you know what I mean, the first thing in mind, they should look in Point Fortin to see if they can find people.
Right.
And as far as footballers are concerned, we're talking about footballers. We're saying that we know this plant is a plant need to be run by professional people and so forth.
Right.
And I want to re-emphasize again that the maintenance of the plant, when the plant have go down for maintenance, they are contractors. They have contractors who they hire. And we're asking, our budget is over $1 million to run, to paying salaries and so forth.
Right.
And we're saying again that if they can talk to contractors, that they can hire 3, 4, 5, 6 people. By extension, Trinma, and by extension, Petrotrin. We're talking 18 people. The league is they're asking us, you know what I mean, that we're supposed to register about 24 players, professional players. And if they can help us there, half our problems, it's gone. So that is one of the areas, the suggestion that we're making to these companies to give us that assistance as far as that is concerned. We're not saying that also they're supposed to neglect their responsibility as corporate citizens as far as the infrastructure in Point is concerned. Whatever they can do. And let me say this. Recently, Petrotrin had a program at Micah Oval Point Fortin. And we're thankful again, let me say we're thankful for the mayor, the ex-mayor, the outgoing mayor, for the support, not only with the ground, but from a financial aspect to keep this team head above water. And they used the ground, Petrotrin used the ground. And I think it was the Health and Safety Department sometime, GAT had some program on that ground. And the pavilion, the bleachers wanted some planks. And it was costing $23,000. And they refused, you know. And I thought that was, you know, that was so distasteful that here there's a big company like that. Planks for bleachers, you know what I mean? So we're just asking that they be a little more sensitive as they think in terms of point, you know, and they think in terms of what they're drawing out of point. They can put something back in the development of point.
Right. Got any thoughts on what Petrotrin Atlantic is doing to us, drawing?
Well, like as Keith was saying, you know, I guess it will be nice if we could get an opportunity to sit with these companies, you know, so that we could have a discussion on what they're looking for and how they can assist. And we will see how best we could meet some of their concerns in terms of meeting the requirements to get assistance.
All right. So our concern is player person. Well, of course, sponsorship. And if you can't do that, at least you can hire contractors who can help us, who can hire our players, or if Atlantic can't hire them directly. And also, there's other things that they can do to support our efforts, right? Like I said, pavilion. We need to get that pavilion built because people come to the grounds and they have to stand in the sun or the rain or whatever the elements are to watch a game, and that is not right. I look at Superior. I went to Superior, and did you see the facility in Superior? If we had that in Point, unbelievable. So again, we could extend that into the government sector, for our government now to take a look at what Superior produced for their community, and maybe they can help us in Point. So our representative in Point should push that and make sure something like that happens, right? So I mean, as a group, as a board, you probably need to sit down with some of these people and see if we can move this train forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think yes, but.
And let me make an appeal. We want to bring our high-profile players back to Point.
Right.
We want to get back Andre Etienne, Marcus Joseph. We want to get back Glenn Sutton, Toussaint. We can go on and on. They're playing with Central FC. They're playing with W Connection. They're all over the place.
Right.
We had them before. We couldn't sustain paying them the wages. So the appeal is here. The appeal is here to these companies, and by extension also the businessmen in Point.
Right.
If in some way they can reach out to us and help us,
right,
to bring them back,
right,
the next season, we're willing to have dialogue with them. We're open for discussion immediately with Atlantic LNG on the way forward, Trimmer and Petrotrin. We're willing to have that kind of discussion because we want to make Point. Let me take something from Donald Trump. We want to make Point great again.
Don't call Donald Trump. Okay, but what about contact? You going to contact them, or you want them to contact you?
We would again try to reconnect with them immediately.
Right.
Our board, you know, through our chairman, we're going to send out letters again, asking for meetings with them, that we can have some discussion the way forward.
Right, and Atlantic LNG and Trimmer Petrotrin, if you don't do anything, I would be back. I would be back to discuss and talk to you. I'll bring these guys back so we can talk about you, and we can tell the rest of the country that you didn't support us. We're looking for your support. Keith and God, we got a couple more minutes left, but anything that we didn't talk about or any parting words you want to say to anybody or any company or thankful or whatever?
Well, I know this is the season for Christmas, and I would like to say a blessed Christmas for the fans and supporters.
Upon Fortin Civic, right?
I wanted to say that if you're listening to this program or you have been reading your papers, you'd observe that the clubs are in the red. You'd observe that the last 2 months we haven't paid our players. We're asking that, you know, these companies in the Point Fortin area, if in any way you can assist us to raise some funds so that our players would have a happy Christmas, we'll be very thankful.
And Happy New Year. Okay. All right, I want to sum up Atlantic LNG. I want to sum up Petrotrain. I want to sum up Tremar. You guys have got so much from the community that given you so much and kept Point Fortin on the map so you can run your business. I think it's only fair that you give back a little to our community. Atlantic Energy, I'm so disappointed in you because you guys have said you want to hire the companies or the contractors in Point Fortin. You want to hire the companies, but I see you hire the big companies, the Massey Motors, or the Massey whatever, the Damases, the foreign companies. Okay, I know there is certain type of work that you need to do that for, but in turn let them hire some of our contractors. That's not happening as much as you think it is. I also talked to you guys about if you hire these contractors, you can get these contractors to chip in and help support the soccer team or the football team in the community. And you said, oh yeah, we will talk to them. And that was just lip service that you gave to me. I am disappointed in you. Make me believe in you again, like I did before, because right now I don't believe that you would do anything for us. To my viewers, thank you so much for tuning in and giving us your support. I wish these companies had given us the support that you did. The Axe Television Network, thank you for bringing this program. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. To my two colleagues and the chairman and vice chairman of Point Fortin Civic, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having us, Steve.
And thanks for the support. And again, we do have a Facebook page. Do check us out. And we do have an email address, fieldofdreamstt@gmail.com. Drop us a line. My name is Steve David. The show is ended. Go in peace. I'll see you next time. Happy New Year.